Well, we've arrived almost to the doorstep of the weekend. And it's a weekend that's going to be filled with volatility in the temperature department. And along the way, maybe some showers and thunderstorms at some point later in the weekend, and especially for Monday. Got some heavy rain and a little severe weather going on in parts of South Texas at the moment. And there's probably going to be severe weather up and down the Mississippi River Valley and points east as we go through the weekend and into early next week. All of this will be discussed in such intricate detail tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, which, of course, you can lend your support. Shop on Amazon using our referral link. And that's pinned to the top of the chat board. It's also on the description to this podcast. If you do that, Amazon sends us a little bit of coin for sending you there. And it doesn't cost you a dime, not a cent out of your pocket. So we appreciate those of you who have used the Amazon referral link to do your shopping and supporting the Joe and Joe Weather Show because it keeps ads to a minimum. So, are we prepared? Are we ready? Are we set? Are
I'm ready.
are we, all geared up
By the way,
for
does my hair look good
your
to
hair
you?
looks fabulous.
Thank you.
It does. But are we
Mrs.
all
Rayo
are we
Mrs.
set?
Rayo spent Mrs. Rayo spent a good deal of time prior to tonight getting it all fluffed up and ready for all of you to be uh
Let me
tuning in.
let me just remind you, Joe, that beauty hurts. To be
Yes, you did.
beautiful, to be beautiful comes with pain. So did you
Yeah.
suffer any pain out of this? I'm talking
No,
physical pain, not emotional pain. Physical pain.
no, but I had not had a chance to really look at anything prior to the show tonight, and so I lost about 5 or 10 minutes while I was getting fluffed up.
Yeah, but your
So
hair looks fabulous.
my hair looks fabulous. Does my knowledge of meteorology and the upcoming next few days and weather, will that be fabulous? We'll have to
Well,
see.
look, here's what we'll do. While I'm blabbing, you can go look quickly, okay? Much has changed since yesterday. What I'm asking you is, are you prepared for 80-degree weather on Saturday?
Oh, I'm, you know, I look at this with ambivalence because it only means that so many things are going to start suddenly emerge and start
Ah!
crawling, you know, and it's also going to intensify the rapid growth of the grass. And
And
I
then you
look at
have to cut the grass.
yeah,
And then you have to get rid of the grass.
and the
And then
shad flies are going to be coming out soon, and the
right.
whole
And
bit.
then
So
then it'll be the heat of summer, and you're going to have to do it in the heat of summer. And of course, come the fall, all the leaves will be falling down, and you'll have to pick up the leaves. And then
well,
once that,
I said I had my grandson here this today, and we're looking out the window, and I'm saying, you see all those trees? They don't have any leaves on them. But in a month from now, they're going to have all those leaves. And guess what? When we get to September and October, all of those leaves on the trees are going to fall on the lawn. And guess who's going to have to mulch them and rake them and get rid of all of them? But pop. So
and that's the way the
never ending
world
cycle.
goes, Joe. That's just how it is. So
That's how.
yes, but Mr. Backdoor Cold Front is going to be looming, so there's going to be some volatility in some places that might get to 80 on Saturday. Depending on where you're located, may not get much above 60 on Sunday.
And if any of you out there are snow lovers and want to see the white stuff on tomorrow night or early Saturday, go all the way up to northern New York State or northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, west central Maine, and you may find as much as 2 to 6 inches of the white stuff on the ground by Saturday morning.
All right. Welcome tonight to everybody on the chat board, and for those of you lurking in the background, we welcome you too onto the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast because we're here Sunday through Thursday at 7:35, which means tomorrow and Saturday are off days for us. But if there was a storm around, we'd be here, and we will be back Sunday night at 7:35. So subscribe, turn your notifications on, and of course, if you like the show, hit the like button. So, on that special note, I think we will go to the watches and warnings map, if that's okay by you.
Oh, it's fine by me. As long as we still have weather service officers that can still do that.
And we do, Joe. There's a plethora of them across the nation. As Joe mentioned, if you want to go up to northern New York, nor, at least a third of the way into Vermont and northward, we have winter weather advisories posted. And for the northern two-thirds of New Hampshire and let's call it western Maine, we have winter storm watches that are up. So there's still some winter going on somewhere. And also, we have a slew of winter weather advisories from northeastern Montana, northernmost North Dakota and Minnesota and Wisconsin. And there are also some, I'm trying to delineate the color here, and there are winter storm watches for parts of the upper peninsula of Michigan and the northernmost counties of the lower peninsula of Michigan. Flash flood watches for southwest Louisiana and down along the Texas coastal bend all the way down to Brownsville. And there are actually some flash flood warnings that are up at the moment. And then out in the west, we've got a few wind advisories and some high wind warnings in Nevada, uh, Oregon, and also, hazardous seas or potential storm warnings that might go up for the coast of Oregon because there's a big storm out there. In the meantime, you check out the satellite loop. Looks quite lovely right at the moment from Maine down to Florida, Mr. Rayo.
It was a gloriously beautiful sunny day. I don't think we had a single cloud in the sky all through the day today. So it was wonderful. Now, a little disturbance is going to pass on through tonight and bring some clouds our way. I did not. Now, would you have mentioned in the tri-state area? Would you have mentioned the chance for a shower tonight? Or
For tonight,
yes,
well, there are clouds that are rolling through Illinois and Indiana that's moving eastward. I did not actually mention a shower for tonight. I don't know, should I have?
no. Well, I didn't mention anything. So
Well, did somebody else mention it?
no, I just was asking you in your opinion. Would you have mentioned
No,
something?
no, I didn't put. It looks like it's moving more. It's sliding sort of east southeast, and I don't know if there's much on the radar with that, which we'll take a look at in a second. But we've got a lot of tropical moisture that's moved into Texas and Louisiana. It's fairly loaded in along in southeast to South Texas. So for those of you who don't know, southeast Texas is where Houston is. South Texas is where Corpus Christi and Brownsville and San Antonio are. So both those areas are covered with a lot of moisture at the moment. And then on the upper left, you can see that the animal that's off to the coast of the Pacific Northwest, the well-defined rotation that is bringing moisture inland. And as we check out the radars, actually, just to go with what you were just mentioning, there are actually some showers cutting across the middle of Ohio. There's like a finger poking into West Virginia. Also, a couple of showers in eastern Kentucky, and then right along the border with Indiana, and then back over into Illinois. But that kind of does look like it's sliding southeastward. So I would say maybe some clouds come in later tonight, but leaving showers out of the forecast, I think, is the better bet.
I'm just looking at the chat board, and somebody had said, amazingly enough, about the GFS and that it was predicting temperatures. Now, again, I don't know if he was referring specifically to New York City. I'm trying to go back, and now I've totally lost the message here.
Well,
Oh
what was
well.
the gist of it?
Well, the gist of it was that the GFS was saying the temperatures on Saturday would be 35, and I'm saying to myself, really? I don't recall seeing that. I
35 wind, maybe up in Plattsburgh.
Yeah, something like that. I look back. He said a few days ago. I looked at my forecast that I issued on Monday, and for Saturday I said more clouds and sun, perhaps spotty light rain, 50. Of course, now it's looking more and more like it's going to be more like 75 to 81 on
Right.
on. It's only because of the positioning of the front. Now it looks like it's going to be to our north, and we're going to be on the warm side of things. So, yeah, 80 degrees. That certainly is a distinct possibility on Saturday.
You can see the radar is pretty loaded in South Texas. There's some heavy thunderstorms right along the coast. Looks like some heavy thunderstorms right near Corpus Christi right now, and they're sliding slowly northward, and even some heavier bands inland. Bands of showers with breaks in between as you go northeastward into southeast Texas, and a leading edge band that's moving into Louisiana. There's some severe weather with the stuff that's down in South Texas. Meanwhile, out in the west, we've got that Pacific Ocean storm that's sending in quite a bit of rain in the Pacific Northwest and some snow in the mountains there. And that snow also extends up into parts of Idaho and into Montana. And you can see where they just along the border there of North Dakota and Canada and Minnesota and Canada, there's an east-west band of snow that is moving east-southeastward, which is why they have the winter weather advisories up. The Storm Prediction Center, we don't have any severe thunderstorm watches up. In fact, the one area that they were looking at in in Missouri here and into Iowa, they just put out a mesoscale discussion saying a severe thunderstorm watch is unlikely. And both areas now, the one up in the upper Mississippi Valley as well as the risk areas in South Texas into Southwest Texas now is a marginal risk. It had been there was an area of slight risk in there earlier, but now it's gone to marginal. Now tomorrow, two marginal risk areas, one from Nebraska northeastward into the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, the other along the coastal bend of Texas into Louisiana. The southern one has got a 2% tornado risk. Day three, and this is for Saturday into Sunday, we're looking at marginal to slight risk from central Texas northward through Oklahoma, into East Kansas and Missouri, into Iowa and Western Illinois. And notice there's nothing for the Eastern Seaboard. And then as we go to the long range on day 4 through 8, so we still have the day 4 now. They've left it the same. They still have an implied slight risk over a large area of the lower and middle Mississippi Valley, as well as the Ohio and Tennessee Valley. And then on Monday, now this they pushed it a little further north, Joe. Now they've got the northern edge of slight risk cutting right across the middle of New Jersey and into southeastern Pennsylvania, whereas yesterday it was down in Delaware Bay. So now they've pushed the slight risk further north. And I'll just go back to what I said yesterday. A lot of this is going to hinge on this backdoor front. It's probably going to sag southward Sunday, but does it eventually turn back around again and go north on Sunday night, Monday? Because if it does, then may see the slight risk get pushed further north. SBC did mention that possibility, and even talking about risk areas back to Lake Erie and Lake Ontario in western New York. So we're going to have to just watch to see how the backdoor front behaves.
Yes, and I've known some backdoor fronts, over the years that have actually caused severe weather. But that was during the warmer time of the year, May, June, July.
Right,
I guess it doesn't quite work that way in the colder months, February, March, April's.
right. WPC did not put out a zero Z forecast, so they must be having some issues there, unless they fired the whole building. But no, just kidding. But we do have from the earlier forecast a rather large area of 1.5 to 2 and 3 inch rainfall amounts over the next 7 days from the Gulf states up and down the Mississippi River Valley from north to south, as well as the Tennessee Valley, the Ohio Valley, and Great Lakes. And some of that extends into upstate New York and Vermont and New Hampshire, while downstate, it's a half inch over Long Island and northern New Jersey and a quarter of an inch further south into Virginia. And then it picks up again when you get down into South Carolina and Georgia. And of course, in the west, we're seeing ample precip in the Rockies, again, spread out over 7 days. We're talking about 3/4 of an inch of liquid to 1.5 inches. So some of that's going to wind up being snow, especially the higher tops. And along the West Coast, from the Sierra Nevadas and northwestern California northward up to Washington State, we're looking at several to many inches of rain. How do you live on that coastline, by the way? How many times during the winter months do we see, WPC showing 7 to 10 inch rainfalls for 7 day for in 7 day forecasts, and then it doesn't really change much for 4 or 5 days. So basically, it's pouring rain for about a week. How do you live in that?
Well, you were down there for a while, weren't you? I mean, like
The
that part of
Pacific
the country.
Northwest?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the southern United States, the Gulf coastal area. But yeah, but this, as I said last night, for the Pacific Northwest, with the convection, with the chance of severe weather, that was the first time since 2012. So it's something that doesn't happen too often out in that part of the country.
No, no,
And
no,
I'm
but, and I understand that, but during the winter months when you get these big Pacific storms that come in one after another, your days and days of gloom and doom. I just don't know how you could, sometimes it could be more like a week to 10 days or longer where you don't see the sun. I just don't know how you can go that long. I would be going crazy. I mean, I've had it happen here where we've gone 6 or 7 days in a row with no sunshine. If we get a wedging high with a northeast wind, and it's tough to take. So but at least here it does eventually break. Sometimes I wonder up in the Northwest, it's kind of like in England where it seems like it's cloudy and rainy all the time.
well, here in the Northeast, Syracuse, for example, is not exactly a place that you'd want to live in from, let's say, late November to early April. I mean, that more often than not, it's very cloudy and very, they have quite a bit of snow there. That's another place that could be rather depressing, if you will, with the lack of any sunshine.
So I've put up the digital forecast for high temperatures on Saturday, and I've shifted it over to Maine, for example, where the forecast high at Portland, Maine is 32. In Montpelier, Vermont, the forecast high is 35. In Plattsburgh, it's 32. Boston, 42. Okay. Now, it's not that long of a drive to go from Boston to eastern Connecticut, and Hartford is 72. So, I mean, you're talking about a 30-degree temperature difference. And notice the wind barbs, by the way. They're all east, they're northeast until you get to eastern Connecticut, and then they turn northwest when you get toward Hartford and Waterbury. And then, of course, when you look what's going on further south with the west southwest wind, we've got 80-degree highs pushing up through Virginia, Maryland, into southern Pennsylvania, the southern and southeastern Pennsylvania, south central and southeast Pennsylvania, and into New Jersey. They got a high of 78 in New York City. So, I mean, for the most part, just round it off, it's near 80. So, as long as we get plenty of sunshine, and the other question is, if the front's going to drop southward, you want that front. If it's going to go to 80, you're going to need that front to wait till at least 3 or 4 o'clock before passing.
And that west southwest wind on Saturday, Joe, I think could be fairly gusty. We're talking about maybe gusts to over 25 miles an hour. And the west southwesterly direction, of course, is the direction you want if you want to see unseasonably warm or at least unseasonably mild temperatures. So I didn't check to see if there are going to be any records within reach on Saturday, but certainly it's not often that you see 75 to 80 at the end of. Although I do remember, I can't remember the exact year though. I think it maybe have been 97 or 98. I remember at the end of March, Poughkeepsie hitting 90 degrees. So we're probably, remembering that, I don't think this is going to be a record-breaking stretch on Saturday of temperatures, but it's still going to be well above seasonal normals. And it's a pretty amazing view that you have there on the screen right now where you can see
That's
really
Sunday.
where the front is on Sunday. You can see that big bubble of unseasonably chilly air over New England pressing down into southeast New York and Long Island, and then you see all of the warm air still out across Pennsylvania and the Delmarva and Maryland. So it's going to be it's going to be a pretty interesting and a pretty, in some cases, an amazing weekend coming up when we look at all of these changes that are going to be taking place literally over a relatively short interval of time.
Yeah, I'm guessing that the front is somewhere between Tom's River and Atlantic City. And Trenton, all the winds are east southeast or southeast, but as you go further north, they turn more east southeast. And look at eastern Long Island, not out of the 40s. Uh, all of southeastern New England, not out of the 40s. New York City going from near 80, we're talking about temperatures only back to near 60 on Sunday. And then further north in the Hudson Valley, it's mostly mid and upper 50s there. And again, further north up, you get up into Maine, and you're talking about temperatures under 32 just about everywhere. Same for most of New Hampshire. Boston only at 44 on Sunday. It's going to be a miserable weekend in Boston because they're going to be in clouds and they're probably going to get some rain out of this. So they're going to be in gloom and doom while we are not. Now, the big question for Sunday is going to be okay, once the wind shifts, how much cloud cover is there going to be? Are we going to have low clouds coming in off the ocean that will hold temperatures down, and that maybe some of these temperatures in the 50s might be a bit generous? I don't know. I think we'll have to wait and see how the flow sets up. And looking at the European today, the Europeans been very good with this. This model has insisted that the front was going to set up more along the more near I-90 in upstate New York and in Massachusetts than it was going to set up that, as opposed to the GFS, which had it further south. So here comes, no, doesn't really have much of anything precip wise. It's kind of like a little, starts to push that warm front or starts to form the warm front Friday night into Saturday, showing a couple of showers Friday evening in southern Pennsylvania and southern New Jersey. But you can see where all the precip is. And so it's just where the precip cuts off. There's your front Saturday morning. And then as we go through the day Saturday, a little wave forms on that front and it starts to just sink southward, just gets far enough south. Maybe it gets down to, south central New Jersey. Everybody else to the northeast will have an ocean wind. And now, of course, you've got this developing, well, this energy coming in from the Pacific jumps over into the Rockies on Saturday. You start to see thunderstorms breaking out from Louisiana to Missouri, and then the low goes up into Iowa. And as we move into Sunday, Sunday looks like it's going to be a very busy, severe weather day in Ohio, in Indiana, Kentucky, southeast Missouri, western Kentucky and Tennessee. And the Europeans kind of implying that there'll be a couple of bowing lines of thunderstorms running through parts of the deep south. And as far as the Northeast goes, kind of looks like, tries to bring in some showers or maybe a thunderstorm too as the front goes back northward again Sunday night. And then we'll see as this another wave develops and deepens as it goes into eastern Michigan. The Europeans trying to show convection with the cold front coming in later in the day on Monday. And it does show, some pretty good buildups. That's why I'm thinking maybe if the warm front gets back far enough north again, that we're going to have to see that severe weather risk area pushed up to the north.
And I don't want to say it's tunnel vision, but there's another rather similar setup that may be heading our way for later next week on Thursday. With again a cold front approaching, a warm front to our north. We'll be in the warm wedge. We'll probably not be in as warm an air mass on Thursday of next week as opposed to what we're going to be looking at on Monday. But still, I think there's a couple of shots of thunderstorm activity locally here. The one on Monday, and again the one coming our way later next week on Thursday.
All right. So let me bring you back. Let's go back full screen. And here we go. I don't know how your day went, but my day was actually relatively uneventful.
Well, whenever we have our grandson here, it's always a very active day and a very long day for Renata and I, especially now that he's walking and he goes very quickly from one room to another, and we cannot be in the same room together. We have to make sure we know what he's doing in the room that he has occupying. Sometimes we'll be sitting there and all of a sudden we'll hear a crash, like, you know.
Yeah, I
but
know.
uh, but it's so these days when he's here, it's a rather active day.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. And I can tell you that it gets every bit as more, it's going to be just as active for a number of years yet. Okay.
Well, next year will be the terrible twos year, so we'll see how that all pans out.
Well, I never understood that with the terrible twos refer to the year age from 2 to 3 or from 1 to 2, because I think with girls it's 1 to 2, because after they turn 2, 2.5, they really they stay, because having brought up daughters, because girls mature faster and grow up faster than boys do. Um, so I always thought the terrible twos is that age between 1 and 2 as opposed to between 2 and 3.
And I noticed on the chat board the most important, the most intriguing, the most noteworthy thing that I've seen on the chat board has come from our dear friend William Jersey Shore, who earlier in the chat said Joe Rayo's hair is white, but his eyebrows are brown. There's something strange here.
Oh, well, I
So
mean,
I see it not. It's not all weather that's on people's minds. It's my
I know
eyebrow.
it's all about hair, Joe. You just need to
Yes.
come out and just admit that you
Well,
used to.
your eyebrows are similar. I mean, your
My
eyebrows are.
out, my eyebrows are brown. My mustache is still brown. Okay, even though my goatee is white and my hair is gray. So you know, look, you just have to be honest with everybody and just come out and just say it, Joe. You use dippity do.
Well, is he inferring the fact that I'm purposely dyeing my hair?
Oh, yeah, of course. Gonna just dye my eyebrow. Dyes their eyebrows, for God's sake. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Renata can't stand my eyebrows.
Well, what does she say? What does she
Well, I
expect you
mean,
to do with them?
it reminds her of Andy Rooney. She's constantly plucking at my eyebrows.
Plucks them?
Oh yeah.
You
If
let
there's
her pluck your
if one
eyebrows?
if one single hair is out of place on my eyebrow,
Right.
she'll take the tweezers and it's like,
Oh God, I would never know. God, that's so wrong.
well, you tell her that.
The makeup woman at Channel 11 when I worked there, she was dying to do that to me, and I told her no, and she looked at me and she said, if you plucked your eyebrows, you'd be on the network right now. So it's like, I'm sorry, you're not doing it. Don't you get when you get your hair cut? Don't you let the person cutting your hair cut to trim your eyebrows?
Well, not, I'm looking at Renata's comments here, just the long ones. OMG, TMI. And
You're being monitored. Well,
you're
don't you
right,
don't
Northern
you have
Grace.
your hair
You're
cut,
right,
person?
Northern Grace, you're right. Nose hairs are even worse.
Oh well, yeah, okay, but I mean, don't you have your person who cuts your hair trim your eyebrows?
No, not really.
Well, why? I do.
Well, I don't know.
If you
Does
don't
Ray?
want her to pluck your eyebrows, why don't just when you get your hair cut, have the woman. I mean, she'll do it with a scissor and a comb. It doesn't hurt. Plucking. No, that's just so wrong. It's wrong. Um, I don't care if you would be on the network if you plucked your eyebrows. No, that's not doing it.
You missed your chance, Joe.
Yeah, I guess so. Um, All right, let's do a little Briller Jeopardy and then head out for the weekend, shall we?
Yes.
All right, let's see if people can figure this one out, these two questions out. All right. If you spelled out every number starting with 1, O-N-E, 2, T-W-O, 3, T-H-R-E, and so on, what is the first number you count to where the number spelled out has the letter A in it?
Excuse me?
Okay, I'll repeat the question.
Who thought of this? Well, obviously it must have been the
It's the
must have been
chairman, Scott
Scott.
Briller.
Yeah.
He may,
Yes.
he may be lurking on the chat board somewhere to help folks out with this. Okay, so again, I'll repeat the question. If you spell out every number starting with 1,
Right.
okay, O-N-E, what is the first number you would count to where if you spelled that number out, there would be a letter A in it? And Craig Carlberger's already got the answer on the chat board.
Hmm, 9,
And
10.
Christina
I could be
Pedia.
going on forever here with this. 11, 12. The letter A?
The letter A. Jason Fox has got the correct answer.
1,000.
Very good. 1,000. That is correct. Okay. Now here's the second question tonight. This one's a little harder. Okay. The second question is, what is the only number when you spell its letters, the letters are in alphabetical order? Okay, I will repeat the question. What is the only number when you spell out its letters? They are in alphabetical order. And Patrick Darcy has gotten the correct answer. You know, a number of you are putting up numbers as responses that are so not in alphabetical order. Okay. Frank R. and Craig Carlberg now have gotten it correct. I'll give you a hint, Joe. You won't have to go as far as 1,000.
Oh, you waiting for me?
Well, I'm just thinking you might try to come up with the answer.
Well, I mean, I'm seeing people putting up 8 innumerable times. So
Yes, all right.
EI,
EIGHT. So I comes out. How is 8 in alphabetical order? EIG. Okay. It would be EGI. EGHIT. That would be
well,
alphabetical order. That's not 8. And the answer is, I'm just going to tell you what the answer is. It's the number 40. Forty. In alphabetical order. Forty. 40. See, I
that's
like those kinds of questions.
that's funny. That did not even make it on Fox and Friends this morning,
Oh, okay.
or on CNN. It was not one of the major
Oh,
questions
you
that
know
were
what?
being
That
asked.
reminds me. That reminds me. I got to send you this link. Hyundai, the car, okay? Hyundai, they opened up an an automobile plant in Savannah, Georgia, and they started to, I saw a story about it yesterday. And Joe, it's the creepiest thing I have. I was so creeped out by it. I didn't, it just it just looked weird. So they were showing cars that were being inspected. There were not that many people in the plant, but they had these robots that would inspect the car after it's been built. the robots, Joe, look like giant Great Danes, and they behave almost like the dogs would, where they're walking up and down the side of the car, they're lifting their heads and stretching their necks and peering into the inside. They're going behind the car. They look so much like big dogs. It just creeped me in. I just got creeped out by it. I was thinking, I'd wonder how the dogs would feel if we had two of those down here in the dog park with them, how they would react. But if you go on CNBC's website, you could probably find the story that they did on it. It was just weird to see those things, because they were moving on their own. They would go behind the car, they would go on the side, they would go in front of it, um, almost as if like a dog was, sniffing around to trying to figure out what it is. It's just crazy. It's just very creepy. Anyway, all right. So we got a weekend coming, and we're off the next 2 days. If you haven't seen Weather Legends, I'll put the link up right now on the chat board. Just give me a moment, and I will get it for you. We did our second episode yesterday, and I did post it, but I will post it again. And here it is. Let's find it. And, all right, there we go. Um,
Oh, give me a break, William Jersey Shore.
what's his problem?
Give me a freaking break.
What is his problem?
He's talking with CWTR Shark,
About
and
what?
he keeps harping. He says, but his eyebrows are brown. And then he goes another few more lines down. He said, I suspect he colors them. I mean,
So what
who
if he
would
did?
do something like that?
So what if he did? What business is of yours anyway? Not you, Joe. Jersey Shore. He's got to be under the age of 20, because nobody over the age of 30 certainly would even be talking about this.
Yeah, that seems to be the only thing that's on his mind on this Joe and Joe is my
Yeah.
eyebrow.
Well, I just put up the link to Weather Legends. You can also find Weather Legends on my YouTube channel in the library. It's like the third row. It's like the third playlist. So for some reason, if you can't get it to that link, just go to my YouTube channel and you'll find it there. So and I think we're gonna have another episode next week. So on that note, we will see everybody on Sunday. Correct?
Correct.
At what time?
7:35 p.m.
Okay. Say good night, Joe.
Good night, Joe.
Good night, Joe. Good night, everybody.